Let's compare the iPhone 16 to the Samsung Galaxy S24. We're going to do a boot up test, app opening test, multitasking test, and of course, we are also going to run some synthetic benchmarks for CPU and GPU to find out on paper which one is more powerful. Oh, and of course, as always, you have Amazon links for both phones with a very, very good price down below in the description. So if at the end of the video you want to buy them or take a look, remember you have the links. But anyways, that being said, let's begin with the boot up test. In 3, 2, 1. Both phones are currently booting up. Let's see which one is the fastest. My prediction is that the iPhone 16 is going to be a little bit faster because it doesn't have to load up a launcher and an OS at the same time. It only has to do an OS boot up. There it is. So it's going to be a little bit faster than the S24, but only for like two seconds. It was not that big of a deal. As you can see, neither has any apps in the background. They both have the same reel of apps to load up. And well, that being said, let's begin. 3, 2, 1. Okay. Seems like they opened with a different camera, so let's redo the test so it's a little bit more fair. 3, 2, 1. There it is. The iPhone was a little bit faster. Let's do the weather. The iPhone felt a little faster, but very close. Let's do the settings. Once again, I think the iPhone for like 1 millisecond was faster, but not to a point where it's noticeable or an issue for people that you're going to notice in real life. Seems like Samsung was a bit faster with YouTube. Let's do Amazon. Okay, Samsung here was a bit faster. Let's do the App Store / Play Store. Wow, very fast on the S24. Let's do Instagram. There it is. Okay, seems like noticeably faster on the S24. Let's do Call of Duty, the first complex app or game that we're going to use here. It's going to take a little bit longer, and maybe the difference is going to be a bit more pronounced, but I'm pretty sure they're going to be neck to neck here too, because they both have about the same power in practice. The iPhone was like a solid 3 seconds faster, though, on Call of Duty Mobile. Let's do Subway Surfers. There it is. My prediction is the S24 is going to be faster. There it is. It always seems to be a little bit faster on Subway Surfers for some reason. Let's do Asphalt 9, although it may give me issues because they both are using the same account. So if it does, we're going to disqualify the app from the test and move on. Yep, seems like, oh no, in fact, it didn't give me any issues this time. And the S24 was a bit faster, like a second faster than the iPhone. Let's do Genshin Impact. There it is. In this case, I am willing to bet $20,000 that the iPhone is going to be faster because it always is. Genshin Impact, there it is a bit more optimized for iOS as opposed to Android, so it always loads up a bit faster. In this case, noticeably faster, I might add, as opposed to the S24. And last but not least, let's do Crossy Roads, a very simple game, so it shouldn't take a lot of time, but it's a hipster game, so it should load up faster on the iPhone. There it is. It's a hipster game, so it prioritizes iOS and Apple. I feel like they were both very, very close, but if I had to choose a winner, I would probably pick the iPhone. It was faster with Crossy Roads, Genshin Impact, Call of Duty. Well, maybe actually they were very close because every other app was faster on the S24. YouTube, Amazon, App Store, Instagram, all of those were faster on the S24. Subway Surfers, Asphalt 9, yeah, it was neck to neck. Yeah, there's no clear winner. As I said, let's delete all the apps from the background. Well, I've already done it. To run a second test to see if the results vary if we do it again. So 3, well, let's set up the camera so it loads up. There it is, the same lens. 3, 2, 1. Okay, iPhone was a bit faster. Let's do the weather. The iPhone was a bit faster. Let's do the settings. Very close, identical. Let's do YouTube. Samsung was a bit faster, but this time was very close. Let's do Amazon. Okay, Samsung was a bit faster this time. Let's do the Play Store, immediate on the S24, a little bit slower on the iPhone. Let's do Instagram. Okay, very, very close. I think Samsung was a tad faster, but I would not be comfortable declaring it a winner at this time. Let's do Call of Duty. This one, I think the iPhone was better last time. I think it always is. Maybe it's because the app is also more optimized for iOS. Seems like there it is. The iPhone won again for 1 solid second. I think the last time was like 3-4 seconds of difference. This time was a little closer. Let's do Subway Surfers. Maybe Samsung wins this time. It always seems... Oh, funny. The iPhone won for like 0.5 seconds over the S24. So it seems like the results are different from the last results. Subway Surfers was faster on the S24 last time. Now it was on the iPhone. It is very close though. Like the difference, we're talking less than a second on most of these apps if we want to measure a difference. So it's not something you will notice in your day-to-day life if you buy either of these two phones. Okay, iPhone was faster this time as opposed to the S24. Let's do Genshin Impact. This time, 1,000 trillion% it is going to be faster on the iPhone. This is the only app where there's no variance. It always seems to be consistently faster on the iPhone. I guess it's, as I said, because it's more optimized. There it is. And last but not least, let's do Crossy Roads, which is a hipster app. So it should technically be faster. Ooh, very close this time. Okay, so results were a little different as opposed to the first run. Maybe that's because we had just booted up the two phones, so they were cold and they didn't have, I don't know, whatever it is, how they manage RAM, how they manage storage. So yeah, it seems like they are very, very close. I'm not comfortable declaring a winner between the two. And since the differences were so small, I don't think you would even notice in your day-to-day life that you have a slow phone as opposed to the other one. So not to worry when it comes to loading apps. What's a little bit more interesting though is how these two phones manage to keep the apps in the multitasking in the background, because that's something that can improve your user experience if you don't have to be constantly rebooting apps when you want to come back to them. So let's test some of these apps to see how many of them have remained open and how many of them we have to load up again. Starting with the camera, which probably, there it is, had to load up again. It's a very complex app, so it usually, most of the time, has to boot up again. Let's do the weather. Seems like both phones remained open, or it remained open in both phones. Let's do YouTube, which, there it is, remained open on both phones. Let's do Instagram. Where is it on the S24? 3, 2, 1. Okay, interesting. It had to load up again on the S24, but it remained open on the iPhone. Let's do Subway Surfers. There it is. 3, 2, 1. Okay, remained open on both phones. Very interesting. No, can you please quit? Stop making sounds. iPhone, please. No, the opposite. And last but not least, let's do Crossy Roads, which remained open on both phones. Seems like Samsung blinked a little, but it did remain open on both devices, so it's a draw. Well, technically the iPhone takes a little bit of a lead because Instagram had to boot up again on the S24, but most apps remained open on both phones. By the way, I didn't tell you before, for the first time in a very long time, both phones have the exact same amount of RAM. The iPhone has 8 gigabytes of RAM, and the S24 baseline also has 8, because you can technically get a higher end version of the S24 with 12, but the version I'm using right here has 8. As I said earlier, I also wanted to run some CPU and GPU benchmarks on both phones, but I want you to take these results with a grain of salt because they don't necessarily correlate with real life. That being said, it is very interesting to see the numbers in which one technically is faster on paper. So 3, 2, 1. Okay, so here we have the results, and they are very interesting. We have noticeably higher single core performance on the iPhone, 3,100 points as opposed to 1,700 on the S24, and also very noticeable multi-core score difference between the two, 7,500 as opposed to 57 on the S24. As I said earlier, take these results with a grain of salt because they don't always correlate with real life. As you saw earlier, there's no clear winner in the app launching test. The boot up test was also very close. The multitasking also very close. And even then, the difference is huge. I think Geekbench favors the iPhone. That's what people says. I guess it's because the tests they do to get these results are more favorable for the kind of performance the iPhone gives. But that doesn't always correlate with every other process that happens when you use apps. I don't know. Now, a test that has traditionally been a little bit more accurate when, comparing to real life has been Wildlife Extreme from 3D Mark. This measures the GPU performance, more specifically the frames per second average you can expect when playing games. So this is a very interesting test to see how powerful the GPU is, and especially the performance we can expect when playing games. So 3, 2, 1. Okay, so we have the results. The iPhone seems to be a little bit more powerful than the S24. Once again, both when it comes to the overall score, which is 3,900 on the iPhone, as opposed to 3,000 on the S24, but also for FPS. The average frame rate on the iPhone is 23.5, and the average on the S24 is 18.3, a big difference. This, of course, is going to vary depending on the game and the engine they're using and the optimization for each phone or operating system. So this is not like a global average that it's going to apply to every game. But yeah, it is very accurate. Wildlife Extreme has traditionally been accurate at predicting the performance in games and the FPS you can expect when comparing two phones. So yeah, we could say that the iPhone globally on average is faster than the S24 for playing games and for graphic intensive tasks. I think if you're trying to buy a phone for CPU and GPU performance, you're trying to buy the fastest possible phone. Maybe the iPhone is going to be a little bit faster, but I don't think it's enough of a difference, not even close, to justify everything else. I mean, buy either of the two phones based on operating system, on cameras, on the display, on whatever other reason, the design, the way they feel in the hand, but I don't think the performance is noticeable enough on either of the two phones. I'm sorry, the difference in performance is not noticeable enough to justify going for one or the other. So yeah, they're very good phones, top tier phones, very fast. As I said earlier, you have Amazon links with a very good price for both down below in the description. So now that the video is about to end, I recommend you go take a look.